The city of Ahmedabad was founded in 1411. According to tradition, Sultan Ahmad Shah, while camping on the banks of river Sabarmati, saw a hare chasing a dog. Impressed by this act of bravery, the Sultan decided to locate the capital of his Sultanate here and called it Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad started as an axial development to the east of river Sabarmati. The earliest construction was the citadel of Bhadra, popularly known as the Bhadra Fort. It was completed by 1413. Later on, the Islamic prayer hall Jummah Masjid and the market square Manik Chowk were built. The city started spreading along the core of this religious center. Here we see the other structures which developed in time along the spine of Bhadra Fort. By 1487, Muhammad Begdo, the grandson of Ahmad Shah, enclosed the city by a fort wall to protect it from invaders. This wall was 6 miles in circumference and had 10 gates, 189 bastions and over 6,000 battlements. This is one of the earliest pictographic representations of a route map. This map has Jummah Masjid in the center on a large scale, guarded by 9 gates on the edges. The importance of religion in cartography during the era is evident. We see that the map has been divided into 4 quarters. The built forms have been shown in elevation, a characteristic of pictographs. The drawing here depicts the economic stratification through hierarchical division of spaces. We see a slight shift in representation of built spaces. The direction of all built spaces is towards the river Sabarmati. We see now that the fort's wall is complete and has 14 gates. The landscape masses are indicated by organic shapes contrary to chalk-on or linear landscape patterns of Islamic architecture. The later maps, as we see in this hand-painted map of 16th century, started depicting spaces a little more to the scale and proportion. Although the style is still pictographic, the dominance of religion has decreased, as can be seen from the presence of places of administrative importance as well. Like any other walled city, Ahmedabad has a central integration core and axis, with high integration values connecting the center. What we see here is the Portuguese representation of India and Orientals. Portugal was the first European power to arrive in Gujarat. These seafarers from Europe threatened the sea trade between Gujarat and Egypt. The combined fleet of Egyptian and the Sultan of Gujarat tried to keep their influence in check, but in vain. Ahmedabad withdrew the trade with Egypt. Meanwhile, the Mughal Empire was growing rapidly throughout India. On 1572, Akbar captured the city, ending the Sultanate rule. Land surveying and map making was pioneered in India by Todermal, who was a minister in Akbar's empire. The revenue maps based on the regular land surveying system proves the development of mapping techniques in the medieval period. Here we take a small diversion to 1765 to know about the father of Indian geography, James Rennell. He divided India based on the Mughal provinces called Sabas as declared under Emperor Akbar. Here we see the map of Hindustan made by Rennell based on description given in the book Ain-e-Akbari. Mapping during the early 17th century emphasized the seat of Mughal power in the northern plains, especially Punjab, the Hindu Kush and the peninsula was omitted. Later on, the European cartographers extended their maps of the empire to incorporate the peninsula. Coming back to Hukumat, on 1621, the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan came to power. He constructed Shahi Bagh Palace, the royal garden, now housing the state government. Shahi Bagh was a forerunner in what is now called as administrative training. Young princes were trained here for skillful administration before adorning the throne. This is a map of 1638 called the Mercator and Hondius. It is especially significant because in the decorative cartouche we see an inserted image depicting 2 Mughal emperors. This shows the Imperial Britain's intent that Ahmedabad would be conquered by Europe in the next 120 years. On 1672, the English ambassador Sir Thomas Roe arrived in Ahmedabad. The city had developed relations with outside world through sea routes now. In 1753, Maratha armies took the citadel and brought an end of Mughal rule at Ahmedabad. During the Maratha regime, Ahmedabad was divided into two halves, one in control of Peshwa and the other in the hands of Gaikwad. This is seen in the name of Puras. The Puras were developed as octroys to collect excise duty from traders coming from other cities. Trade was predominantly handled by Mahajans, the head of the trade guilds. The condition of Ahmedabad during the 64-year-long Maratha rule went from bad to worse, owing to the constant struggle between the Peshwa and the Gaikwad. Palaces, mansions and roads were in ruins, and the fort wall that enclosed the city had fallen in many places. Like a phoenix, Ahmedabad rose from its ashes. In 1818, Union Jack was hoisted in Badra Fort when the British took over from the Marathas. The British rule brought the benefits of peaceful and orderly administration. The population of the city, which had dropped to a mere 80,000 in 1817, gradually started increasing. The cantonment was established in 1824. Meanwhile, in 1767, the Survey of India was established. One of the most stupendous tasks in the history of Indian cartography started 200 years ago by William Lambton and completed 4 decades later by George Everest, called the Great Indian Arc Project. Bit by bit, the tapestry of Indian terrain was sewed together by surveyors using trigonometric survey by setting up large towers, some of which exist till this date. The current municipal administration was introduced in 1858 and is now known as Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. In 1864, a railway link between Ahmedabad and Mumbai was established, making Ahmedabad an important junction in the traffic and trade between northern and southern India. Large number of people migrated from rural areas to work in textile mills. The row house construction developed after the establishment of railways since there was an increase in clerical population. Ahmedabadis were now establishing a robust industry. In 1870, the Ellis Bridge, a major landmark structure in the city of Ahmedabad, was constructed. This acted as an artery of public transport across the river Sabarmati. We see this in the survey map made by the Ahmedabad municipality for Gazetteer. Urban development extended towards the west coast of Sabarmati River. In 1905, a modern reorganization of the Survey of India was started. In this map, we see the density of settlements around Jummah Masjid is high. Also, we can observe that on the suburbs the urban planning was following grid iron pattern, typical of British architecture. The city's health and hygiene worried the governing British authorities. The breeding of mosquitoes in the cracks and crevices of fort walls was a common sight. In this picture, we see the city walls before they were demolished. On 1915, the city wall was demolished by the British government amidst a lot of protest. But the authorities insisted on it for improving city sanitation and air circulation. Later, a ring road was constructed around the wall. In this map, we see the ring road and also development of umpteen textile mills on the suburbs of the walled city. In 1956, Survey of India introduced the metric system in mapping. This can be seen from the use of meters as the unit of scale in this map. The state of Gujarat was created in 1960, with Ahmedabad as its political capital. Large-scale urban development and construction activities began. Famous architects like Le Corbusier, Louis Kahn were among the ones who contributed to the visual delight that the architecture of the city has to offer. In 1961, Indian Institute of Management and National Institute of Design, the premier institutes of India, were established. In 1970, computers were introduced in Survey of India. GPS and GIS technology was introduced by 1992 in Survey of India. This has changed the method of collection and handling of spatial data, its analysis and use. This is a Google Earth image of Old City of Ahmedabad. In this image, we see the ring road around the Old City. The axial development of Old City can be clearly traced along the lines of Badra Fort. We can also see the differences in density between the Old City and the New City. The Sabarmati River Front Project got initiated in 2004. This was the first time Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation issued maps which shows a representation of proposed land use patterns on the existing image of Google Earth. This is a new trend in cartography where GIS is being employed to design and perceive urban development patterns. Cartography has evolved incorporating the varied needs of mankind, be it physical, religious, or economic. It has spoken through the language barriers. In the process of learning and understanding, cartography is guiding us to explore the unknown.